My name is Lovely. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Art of Learning and Unlearning. On our next episode, we're going to discuss sharing the good news with discernment. Okay? I know we get excited, we like to share good news, but we have to use discernment when we're also sharing that good news. So, you ever wonder why God doesn't always just give us all the full picture? Why do the visions, dreams, or divine nudges often come in come in fragments? Just enough to spark our curiosity, but not quite enough to map out the entire journey. I used to wrestle with this growing up. I've had these wild dreams, intuitive visions, glimpses that felt profound, but then nothing, like crickets, silence. And I'll be left thinking, God, what's the deal? Why these divine teasers? It wasn't until years later that I realized some of those dreams did come to pass and some were just delayed. So here's the kicker, they were often delayed because of my own disobedience, my own lack of readiness. Ouch. Fast forward to a recent chapter in my life, and the theme of communication and discretion decided to take center stage. A close friend casually told me, "You talk too much." Excuse me? I was stunned, but not really. Not because I'm unaware of how much I speak. Okay, maybe a little. But because I genuinely believe I wasn't sharing anything that personal. In fact, I thought I was doing a great job keeping things surface level. Cute updates here and there, lighthearted stories, and a doctor at best. Nothing that would put me at risk of being too vulnerable. So I thought. Then a second friend said the exact same thing. Now I'm a firm believer, and once is a chance, twice is a pattern. But it wasn't until a third person echoed that sentiment that I had to pause. You know when someone says something that you don't really want to hear, but deep down you know it has some truth? Yeah, that feeling. At first, I felt defensive. I was ready to be offended. I was crafting my defense like a well trained attorney before I went full courtroom drama on this person. I paused. I dug a little deeper. I realized something humbling. I had been floodlighting, talking incessantly, offering stories, details, but nothing real, nothing vulnerable, nothing of true substance, just noise. So I had to figure out why. Why? Because to me, if I kept the conversation light, noisy, I could protect the parts of me that mattered. If I never truly open up, no one could ever use anything against me to hurt me. Safe, right? That was my logic. But that logic is also isolated. What I discovered surprised me. I wasn't oversharing in the typical sense. I was telling my deepest secret or bearing my soul to the world. I was floodlighting. And Brene Brown talks about this and like her books. Basically, I was sharing a lot of nothing, talking just to fill space, just to fill the quietness, just to fill in the silence, sharing thoughts without processing, echoing conversations from one group to another, not realizing that half the room did not have the full story and probably did not need it. And I had to realize you are allowed to say things like, that is not my story to tell. A simple I don't know can save relationships and keep your integrity intact. All of this made me realize I wasn't protecting my peace, I was broadcasting it. And not everything deserved airtime. What I learned from my friends after they shared this, what I learned from my friends' feedback was this: they were not attacking me. In fact, they were doing something most people never do. They were being honest with love and respect. They did not shame me. They did not humiliate me. They simply told me the truth, and the truth sparked awareness. Because sometimes growth starts with hearing the hard truth, spoken in love. Now, it was up to me to take accountability and make the changes that were necessary. Now, those changes are not going to be drastically done overnight, but I can now add them into little changes. And I am slowly starting to catch myself sometimes when I am speaking too much. I've since become more intentional about my conversations. So now I speak slower. I listen longer. I pause. I definitely pause before sharing. And I ask myself, is this necessary? Is this my story to share? Is this mine to share? Is this the right person for this story? Am I speaking to connect, or am I speaking to fill the silence? It's not about shrinking or silencing yourself. It's about being intentional with your voice. The Bible talks about the power of the tongue in Proverbs 18:21, and the tongue is powerful. So you have to be mindful and careful with what you say with your tongue. And here's the funny thing: I'm learning to appreciate the silence. Not every silence needs to be filled. It's not awkward, it's actually sacred. It's literally where wisdom comes and settles in. It's literally where wisdom settles in. So here's my gentle advice. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every thought needs to be said out loud. That was my biggest flaw. If I thought it, I said it. And not every person deserves a front row seat to your process. Keep a little mystery. Keep a little sacred. Protect the parts of you that are still healing. And that's very important. It took me a very long time to start this YouTube channel because I wanted to make sure that I was completely healed with certain topics before I discussed them, because I did not want to be triggered. I did not want to reawaken the beast that I did not kill. I wanted to make sure that God had done the work in me first before I can be like, okay, God, use me. And then I'm like, cookie crumble. But I wanted to make sure that I did the work first, and I worked on me, and I worked on my heart and my space and my mental health, and secure myself and build a safety net in God and a stronger foundation with God on my own prior to even thinking about starting this YouTube channel. Actually, I didn't even want to, but the Lord kept nudging me. So here we are. I'm being obedient. Okay, God. Okay, back on topic. Okay, so protect the parts of yourself that are still healing. Okay? And when someone offers you feedback, pause. Which is so funny because last Sunday's sermon was also about pauses. I've been in church my whole life. I've never heard a sermon about pauses. Like to just pause before you speak. Okay? Let me tell you, this is how the Lord's been speaking to me lately. So last Sunday's sermon was about pauses. I opened my YouTube channel. First thing that pops on there is a podcast about why you should pause and speak slower when you are talking. And I was just like, okay, God, heard. Let me clock that. I heard you. So when someone offers you feedback, pause. Ask questions. Seek clarity, because sometimes criticism is just the truth dressed in uncomfortable clothing. Yes, your story deserves to be shared, and it deserves to be shared with care. It's your testimony, not just, it should not just be scattered for public consumption. Give it meaning, give it power, give it soul. That's what your testimonies are for, to be a blessing to others. So, a few questions that I wanted us to reflect on for this week. What's something you were recently criticized about that you initially disagreed with, but later realized held some truth? How did you respond? What did you learn or unlearn from it? How did it make you feel? Let's talk about it, because the art of learning and unlearning is an ongoing process. And we are all students in it. You are seen, you are valued, and yeah, I love you. Thank you.